going to talk primarily about DAOs today, but before we go into that, I would love to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday in the Bitcoin space. Adrian or Mariana, do you want to hop in on that sort of value change that happened yesterday?
You mean the price going down?
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that we all live under the premise that the cryptocurrency markets will stay stable despite the rest of the world equity markets. And one can infer what, I have a training in statistics, so not very well supported theory, but some of the Coinbase you know, journalists were saying that, oh, the Bitcoin's moving with the markets versus, staying stable while the markets are tumbling. Of course, that was just a, 1 week performance, so statistically insignificant. But the bottom line is that there is a problem in China with one of the larger companies that made default on quite a bit of Bitcoin because they're defaulting on their loans. And that always sends the market sort of into a tumble. We've been through these market adjustments. Adrian and I have been in this for many years, and I don't think this is a big issue for the crypto market, in my opinion.
Do you think that this signals that this market, that the buyers in this market are more skittish than traditional investors and buyers, or is it just more of the same?
It is more of the same. It recovered this morning. It's back to like 42, I think 5 as we speak now. It went down to 40. I haven't been, really looking at Bitcoin for a couple of years, but it has quadrupled since then. So it's really not that much of an issue personally. I do believe that it's going to increase in value. There are so many. So if you think of Bitcoin as being the first project, and therefore became sort of a de facto store of value, and many of the institutions are coming in, it's not going anywhere. So Bitcoin is definitely, I'm not worried about investing in Bitcoin even today, right? But you have to look at the rest of the companies in the space, which are literally changing the way we do business every day. And these are not even startups. And we had a bunch of them presenting last week, which are basically, they have deals with top tier Fortune 500 companies on the
Right.
planet. They're in many countries. So I don't think this is any indication of anything. The really interesting thing about crypto markets is that people, being a math major, people are always trying to find ways to explain everything that happens in the crypto market. And it's really not that mathematically possible, if that makes any sense. It's like I've invested in startups my whole career. You really don't know how successful that startup can be until it's really successful, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
many opportunities for it not to succeed, but then once it's really scaling quickly, there are many opportunities for it to succeed. And so trying to, you know, look back what happened and say, oh, it dropped, 25% because of this, and this. It dropped 25% because of the flows of money in and out of this market. But a lot of money will continue to flow into this market more and more every day because this is the next generation of the networks we live on. So I'm bullish on the whole market.
Sure. And it seems like if you are an investor taking a long view on cryptocurrency, you're going to see a moment like yesterday as an opportunity, right, to get in
Yeah,
because,
yeah, it's a buy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
That
buy.
is
yeah,
literally a Black Friday sale. It's like, oh my goodness, the heavens smiled down on us and it's $2,000 off. Awesome. Buy, 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 buy. And
right.
I got to
Well,
tell you, the big banks, I mean, Mariana has it correct. Like when I was doing Bitcoin OTC deals, which is the most frustrating thing you'll ever do, most of them were scams, but several times I had big banks, like major top 10 banks going, I'd like to buy 5 million Bitcoin. And I was like, on behalf of the entire Bitcoin community, you can F off. No, there's no way. No, I'm like, you can have 50,000. And they're like, no, we want 5 million. I'm like, no, there's only 21 million and you're not getting 5 because we've already lost probably what, 3 to 4 to human error, including 2,500 of my own, to human error over the years. So those are irretrievable and might as well be staked. They're never going back into the market or burned. So they're never going back into the market. So there's maybe 17 in circulation. I'm certainly not going to sell 1/3 of Bitcoin to a single bank. And not only that, there's nobody that has that many. I know people that worked on it, that worked on the project. They have 800,000.
Yeah.
That's it. They got
Yeah.
800,000. Banks are trying to acquire 5 million, 3 million, 1 million. And then you got these sellers. Oh my goodness. So one of my friends got into this and he's like, "Oh no, this seller, they're a miner. They've got 3 million." And I was like, "No, they don't." He goes, "Yeah, they do. They do." Nope. I was right the whole time. I'm like the queen of calling BS on these deals. I do it in PPE, I do it in blockchain, I do it in Bitcoin deals. Because I do due diligence. And I'm like, there's no way. The guy is now arrested, on trial. I think he made a deal to lower his sentence from 250 years to whatever. I don't know. But it was like 75 different scams. It was crazy. So that's the problem, is you've got desperation for acquisition. And that's the one thing I told you guys this story to let you know, way back when Jamie Dimon said, Bitcoin's a fraud. And I don't know why this man is not in jail. That was market manipulation, clearly, because immediately when the market tanked after he said that, they went and bought $200 million worth. So that's called market manipulation.
Sure.
And he should be in jail for that because he did that on purpose to make himself a Black Friday sale. So anytime you see a lot of these major announcements, then you have to follow up and look at the whale moves, right? Mm-hmm. So then there's a whale tracker on Twitter that you can go look at. And every time some big boy of some mysterious mythological standing says something, there's huge moves after that with acquisitions by major banks. So it's not going anywhere.
I agree. I just thought we had to address that because of course it was major news yesterday. So I thought we would maybe reassure people that they should calm down.
They're trying to scare them.
Yeah.
Yes, they're scaring. They're scaring them. Here's the other thing. Another backstory. So way back when, the stock market, when it was, not in its infancy, but we're talking 15 years ago, 15, 18 years ago, something like that. No, how old's my kid? 10 or 15 years ago. So the stock market dropped like 535 points in one day, and the boys were having an epic cow. And I was living in San Francisco, and NBC called, and they're like, "Can you gather a bunch of really smart stock market like women to explain what just went on and why you guys aren't panicking?" And I said, "Oh yeah." So we go meet at my friend Elizabeth's house, which is like this absolutely gorgeous, $100 million Marin County mansion. And I've got the best of the best. And we're all talking about why it's no big deal and why it's going to go back. And NBC was the only one that ran women being sane. Everybody else ran men in panic. And then it bounced back in like 2 days, exactly like we said it would.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. It's like, it's going to come back. Like, just chill. This is crypto. This is what it does. Look at the 10-year performance rate. And here's the other thing to remember in crypto. If it's early and it's like an IDO or an ICO or IEO or whatever it happens to, it's either going to survive or die, just like any other startup. The majority of them will die, just like any other startup. The ones who've been around for a little while likely aren't going to zero. Like Doge, probably never going to go all the way down to zero, right? Mm-hmm. I got in when it was, ridiculous. And we were trying to pump it to $1, and I kicked myself for not selling at 78 cents. But I'm such a long-term hodler that I just never sell anything really if I don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what's really important,
because long term, it's going to be worth something.
Also, I think what was really interesting as a statistic, now let's go into statistics, right, was this fact that if you own, and I think I sent this to you, Jeanette, I can't remember the exact ratio, but like if you own like 0.28 of a Bitcoin or 38 or some number under point 0.5 is what I remember, you're in the 1% of all the worldwide holders of Bitcoin, which is crazy, right? So
Right. Well, there's
there's
only
plenty of
21
room.
million Bitcoin. So if you own a half,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's what we're saying. Look, if every millionaire owned one Bitcoin, there aren't enough. That's the whole point. There aren't enough for even every millionaire, right? Even every billionaire to have, well, no, there's more, there's not 21 million billionaires, but you get my point.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
one. So that's like, should be everybody's basic goal. Just own one. You know, John McAfee said it's going to hit 250, no, a million, or said 250,000 or I'll eat my dick. We're not going to be able to have that, that challenge anymore. But I mean, I don't think he's wrong. Tim
Yeah.
Draper believes it's going to go to 250. So do I. A couple of people say it's going to go to a million. I'm like, well, maybe not in my lifetime, but who knows? You know, if we hit this instance of mass inflation, which could come at any time. I mean, if you look at the rate at which the United States is printing dollars, this is what's interesting, right? People don't understand this concept because this is the other piece of crypto that everybody has to wrap their mind around.
Right.
If, like everything else, everybody ties everything to the dollar, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
dollar is this fictitious plateau called stable, right? But we're printing more of them. So think about it, like gas should be $1. It is $4.50. That's ridiculous. Bread used to be what, 25 cents? I mean, okay, in my lifetime, it was 25 cents. And now it's like $3 for
Mm-hmm.
a loaf of bread, right? So you got to look at the inflationary aspect of the dollar. So a dollar could buy you X before. Now it can only buy you X now. So you need more dollars. Thus, Bitcoin is automatically, because it is not inflationary, it is stable. There's 21 million of them, right? And it is inflationary because they do mine more, but it's such a tiny amount at this point that's not really the problem. The problem is that the dollar value is going down, so therefore Bitcoin goes up. They go opposite, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
more dollars that get printed every time the Treasury prints more dollars and deflates our currency, the higher Bitcoin is going to get. So it's a hedge. So when you were talking store of value, I go look at it like a gold bar, because
Mm-hmm.
gold does the same thing, right? There's only so much gold, really. So you know, as the dollar goes down, it goes up. So you just have to think about these things as, you know, your 401k or your IRA when you're looking at those big ones, right?
Right.
That is something where you buy it, you acquire it, you stockpile it, right? Then you have your other ones that you can use, which is what Doge was built for, and what they're trying to have Doge do with Doge Dogecoin.city is an entire marketplace of businesses that will take Doge as payment. And so, there's still kind of like this wild, wild west for a payment crypto that's used for circulating money. Bitcoin Cash was supposed to be that. I think it should be, but again, it's also now too valuable to be something that gets flipped as quickly. People want to hold on to that because they've seen that and Litecoin go up, and Ethereum was going to do it, but the gas prices are just crazy. So we're still in that wild, wild west of what is going to be our cryptocurrency to go buy a cup of coffee.
And so, very
Right.
important news today, or yesterday, that came, side by side with the Bitcoin news is that Janet Yellen is warning that failure to raise debt ceiling for the U.S. could trigger an economic catastrophe in our country, because we're in, if U.S. goes into default on its debt, that would, kind of create an economic crisis globally, and we're at the end of our cash reserves. So
Can,
we did, this is our problem at
can,
the moment.
can I say, okay, we're going to fictitious land, okay? We're going to fictitious land. Nobody's sling arrows at me. I had a hallucination way back when in 2015 that I was like, okay, the one thing about Donald Trump that I find fascinating is he is the only human being on earth that would have declared bankruptcy and restructured our debt. And I thought about that and I went, he's done it a billion times with his corporations. Why not do it with the USA corporation? And is that even something that's possible? Because we keep hitting this debt ceiling and printing more money and deflating our currency. And what is that going to do to our future generations? And I kind of toyed with that idea. So, you know, if the US did that, right, especially because our enemies hold our debt, can't we just pass something that says our enemies cannot hold our debt and it's void? Is there nothing we can do? Because they own us, right? I mean, that's an issue for me. When that Russian guy came out, I don't know what it was, like 15 years ago, and he literally came out with a map of the United States, parceled out, looking like a pork loin, that was going to the butcher for France, England, China, and Russia, like, and Canada, owning us. And I was like, we need to do something about the debt. So anyway, that was my hallucination in 2015 that made me less afraid of him. Because I thought,
Yeah,
well, if he's going to do something really freaking outrageous, maybe it'll be that.
yeah. I think the challenge that we face now, though, is in the past, right? We could have always said, well, they'll bluster and they'll fight, but they'll vote to raise the debt ceiling because ultimately they have to, right? But what we've seen out of our government in the last, I don't know, decade is that they're getting it's getting more and more divisive, and I think it's possible where
It's it's
I
cut
think what
it's cutthroat.
yeah,
It's if I'm going to do this for you, you're going to do X, Y, and Z that you're going to hate because otherwise I'm not going to do this for you. That to
right,
me is not putting we the people first. That's my issue. That's why I'm like can't that's why I thought something radical like declaring bankruptcy was a viable option to explore, that somebody should have at least explored it.
yeah. I don't I I I understand what you're saying. I just don't see anybody politically ever making that
Well,
happen.
but see, that's why I thought Trump would do it, because if he would go in and be a one-term president and go, I'm cleaning it up, boom. But
Yeah,
then I
he
thought
never.
Congress might have to approve it, and then I didn't know how that was going to work. But I really
Right.
was fascinated by that concept, and nobody ever explored it.
But in any case, I do think, Mariana, that this is something to keep an eye on, because in decades past, we went through this drama. Every couple of years we would go through this drama, but we all knew, well, ultimately they're going to approve it and it's going to go forward. But do you think there's a risk this time, Mariana, that it
There's
won't?
it's the problem is the global economy. It's not the US economy, because if US defaults on its debt globally, who's going to actually help us restructure? That's the problem. So
Yeah.
that's why I think the cryptocurrency markets will be here for a while. This is why institutions are chasing, purchasing Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a bunch of other cryptos at the moment. And it's just going to continue. This is not going to let. We went through a horrible pandemic, and all countries in the world were printing their own currency because they had to allow people to make it through the pandemic and not be in an economic crisis during the pandemic. That's kind of where we are. So this is not going to go away. I'm not worried about the crypto markets. Yes, you may invest in things that don't do well because that particular company didn't do well financially. So these are all companies in essence, even though they're DAOs or some other organizational structure. You have to do a due diligence on the team, on the partnerships, on the revenue generation, just like you would analyze any other company on planet Earth, whether it's a startup or something where you bought a stock in the stock market. You look at the underlying management team and the strength of the business. That's how you should look at all of your investments, really.
Yeah, it's really interesting too. I read that one of the Securities Commission has been clamping down on using crypto for lending, and there was a big
Oh, yeah.
announcement. You want to talk about that, Adrian?
Oh, I have no idea what the announcement was,
Oh,
but I know that there was the head of the SEC was speaking to Congress in a committee meeting, and Alexandra Damasker went over those statements the other day in pretty good detail. So I'm not a lawyer. I play one on TV, full disclosure. I am literally repeating the genius that is Alexandra, or attempting to days later.
Well, Coinbase abandoned the lending product
That's the
because
one I
of
was
the
thinking.
Oh,
SEC
that
pushback.
one. Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. So here's the issue with the SEC. The SEC is first of all, the IRS is trying to figure out how to get all their money, right? And so now the administration is saying that any transaction over $600, every bank is going to have to report those. They also want every DeFi platform to report those. The problem is DeFi is anonymous. They don't want DeFi to be anonymous. So then they want KYC AML on every single person who's going to participate. I have a solution for all of that for them. But they want all of that information because they're going to want to be able to track all of those transactions. And they're looking to come up with a way to track and tax crypto, which of course is the whole point of crypto is anonymous transactions, which is our constitutional right to free trade and to contract. But so that needs to be challenged. That they have this desire to be such a helicopter parent over every single citizen. And that's why Coinbase abandoned it, because Coinbase is very, very, they're very compliant. So, backstory, my best friend came up with a crypto credit card about 15, well, it was like 2017, 20, no, 2012, 2013-ish, came up with a Bitcoin-based debit, like a debit card, credit card, like BitPay kind of. And they were about to launch, and they got the nastygram from the IRS that said, you will give us every single person's name, information, everything, everywhere you've sent the cards, and all transaction history. And under the Patriot Act, you will not tell anyone that we sent you this letter or that you're doing this. So the nastygrams go to all the banks. So that's something it's one of the benefits of a DAO is that they have nobody to serve. And so he abandoned that project because he was like, it was the scariest letter he'd ever gotten. It was like he was now going to be an agent of the 3-letter agencies. He didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
Well,
So
thank you so much for providing the pivot that I wanted to get to talking about DAOs today. Mariana, you want to hop in first?
yeah, I just want to say that you have Coinbase pulling out of lending. BlockFi was ordered to halt its offering interest-bearing accounts, and Celsius. So all of the three big ones in the U.S. that have been regulated and have been operating here, the SEC is stopping the lending practices. And if you remember what Alexandra said last week, they're also in that speech. Gensler also talked about the stable coins. So that's kind of a de facto cryptocurrency equivalent.
Which I think is interesting, right? Because there's a difference between a digital currency and a cryptocurrency, right? And that's what I think people don't understand. A digital currency is, you could almost call a digital currency what your bank does. Your bank doesn't have dollars and ship dollars from bank to bank. They move ones and zeros across a computer network. It's all digital. And so it would not be difficult to convert everything to digital and then transform US currency like they did in India, which was insane, where they literally just made all physical currency illegal to get all of the mattress money out of all the dark money out of the system. And then it caused such a chaos. I was actually mentoring the largest newspaper group in the country over there for like 2 years before they did that. And then all of a sudden they couldn't transact. Everything had to be like fully documented. They couldn't even make a credit card purchase. It was crazy. So I fear that that's kind of where we're going to end up going. So we're going to have to, we the people are going to have to actually get together and make some changes here. So we're launching a DAO to do litigation finance to literally do constitutional issues. It's getting to that point.
Right.
Yeah, and the stable coins, I mean, if you think about it, they're basically some of the issues the regulators have with the stable coins is they feel that they're sort of disrupting the traditional financial systems. That's literally the way that
That's exactly the word for word what he said. And
right.
my point is, and your point being, I'm sorry, I understand way, way, way back when everything was on a piece of paper and you used a pen or a pencil to do the ledgers, and the bankers were like serious mathematicians, and you went overdrawn and they charged you a fee for that. I get that, okay? And I even understand in the 70s and the 80s where they'd charge you like $5, right? But $35 for a fictitious overdraft where they didn't even pay it and it cost them nothing, and a 1 and a 0 automatically just moved things on a ledger with no human intervention, that should be illegal, especially fees on fees, which actually happened to me, and I wrote a song about it with Bank of America and tanked their stock price just a little bit.
Well,
They pissed me off.
I agree with
They
you
they
that
they charged me a merchant processing fee, which took me overdrawn by 2 cents. But their merchant processing fees are 4 different fees stacked up. So they charged the biggest one, overdrew it by 2 cents, charged $35. Then the next one was like $1.12, charged another $35. The next one was 8 cents, charged $35. The next one was 2 cents, charged $35. So they charged $140 in overdraft fees for their own merchant services fee.
well, I mean, the issue is the
It's
banks.
in,
If you look
yes.
at everything in that, basically, in that speech, in that testimony, was really all about the banking system. Yeah.
Well, what they don't want is we, the people, taking charge and making our own contracts, which constitutionally we are allowed to do, especially in a DAO. We are allowed to contract amongst ourselves without government intervention. So that's a constitutional issue that is going to have to be litigated. We're to that point because they're going to try and use draconian measures to stop us from actually fixing the problems that the government has created on our behalf so that certain people can profit. I'm really
So
a
what I would love to,
libertarian, full disclosure. I really like small government,
yeah,
personal freedom.
yeah. Well, the term DAO has come up quite a bit in the last few minutes, and I really would like to take a second to circle back and explain what a DAO is. I mean, a DAO is an entity with no central leadership, and decisions get made from the bottom up, and it's governed by a community organized around a specific set of rules enforced on a blockchain. So a DAO is really an organization that is built on a blockchain, and it's managed by its members, and it's managed based on a smart contract that certain things are triggered based on certain conditions in the markets or the world. So, the DAO really fuels a lot of the things that are happening in DeFi, dApps, DEXs, NFTs, and crypto. And so I really wanted to explore with you two some of the details of how DAOs work and how they get built, and what are the advantages and what are some of the dangers. So that's what I'd really like to cover for the next half an hour. And again, I would like to invite you who are listening, don't be shy if you have any questions. There's no question too basic or too hard. Just ask your questions and we'll be happy to present them to our brilliant panel of women up here. So, Mariana and Adrian, do you want to hop in a little bit talking about DAOs?
Well, I'll hop in. I had people actually from the clubhouse reach out to me after some of our sessions and said, "Can you help us figure out if we should structure a DAO for this particular venture?" So I get on a call with them, and we start. I meet the team, and it's a lot of really smart people on that team. And so I asked them, what business are you in and what are you really trying to accomplish? And every member of the team has a different vision for what that business should be, which is normal, by the way, when you start a new venture. So,
Mm-hmm.
however, having done this for a couple of decades, I think to myself, wouldn't you want to know first what is that problem you're trying to solve? Wouldn't you want to have your entire team, your CTO, your chief marketing officer, your CFO, your CEO, whoever's involved in that founding group, wouldn't you want them to kind of be on the same page first, to go through the traditional sort of venture initiation, and then don't you need to decide for yourself, is this really something, this particular problem I'm solving, should this be a DAO or should be an LLC or a C corp? I mean, those are kind of the steps that I would go through in setting one up.
Mm-hmm. It um let's talk a little bit about the whole smart contract aspect of it, because it's very central to how these DAOs work. and your DAO is in many ways only as good as your smart contract. So how do you know what that smart contract should be and who should build it?
You also always want to make sure that your smart contract is audited. And then here's the other fun fact people forget about blockchain: it is an immutable record of what actually happened. I like to say unfuckwithable, but I try to give everybody the option for the G rated version: immutable. So when you're writing your contracts, one of the best things that I've seen is if your contract calls another contract and the other contract is actually an external editable thing, that actually makes it easier for you to fix things, especially in your DAO. So if you put something up and it's in a smart contract and that contract says we're only ever going to do this, and then you run into something that you didn't expect, you can't fix it. So when you're doing your smart contracts, you need to make sure that you have the ability to amend it upon approval of the DAO. So these are the kinds of things you have to think about. So you want to make sure that you have a smart contract developer that's done it before, or there are SaaS projects out there that can run your DAO, especially if you're just talking about a governance contract and a governance token. That's the smarter way to do it, is to separate out your operations or your value token from your governance token. Your governance token can be really fast, run on a SaaS platform, and all of the bells, whistles, features, you know, proposals, like everything is already done. It's been there, done that. I mean, if you look at Pivx, it's an open source private version of Bitcoin, I think. So you can literally just clone it in GitHub, and boom, you have a token with all the smart contracts and everything works. So you want to look at what's already out there and doing what you want to do. See if it's open source or MIT Labs. That's the copyright. So then you can go and just clone it and then amend, edit, change your contract number to whatever your token is, and then go. And then you definitely want to. I like Hosho. They're my favorite when it comes to security auditing, because they're like me. They're quite thorough, and you want to make sure you have it security audited. That generally costs like $30,000 to $50,000. So you want to do a pre-sale if you're going to launch a DAO, because you're going to have some expenses.
Okay, so I have a jargon detector and it went beep.
It went beep
So
about 50,000 times on that one. I'm sorry. I just
no, not
literally just like my mouth opened and it all
no.
came out.
It's all good, but I'm going to ask you to describe the difference between a governance token and talk about the different kinds of tokens.
Okay. There are multiple types of tokens, and this is where people are getting creative, and they're also getting confused. So you have certain tokens, like when a blockchain launches, right? Like Crypto.com has their CRO token, and that's part of their governance token, even though they're a corporation. Most blockchains have some token that allows people to vote on standards that are being adopted, proposals like with Pivx that I mentioned before. That's a blockchain. Way back when, in the heyday, this bad boy went up to $12 and something cents when I was in Dallas at the Bitcoin conference, and I think it's 12 cents or 14 cents now. But it got pumped pretty heavily. But the best part about it is the treasury, right? So the governance has a treasury, and the treasury issues rewards, and it also issues grants for people to actually build onto the platform or to develop on the platform. So you would submit a proposal for a particular project and submit it, and then it would get funded in that blockchain's token, which had to, of course, have some kind of value for people to want to work for you for that token instead of cash. We have that right now with the Tezos Foundation. They've got a lot of things going, and then Cardano has a great incubator, and they've got a grant making process. NEM has a fabulous foundation. So if you look at all the different blockchains, they usually have some kind of foundation. That foundation will grant ideas, tokens, to get them done, to help enhance that particular blockchain. Those funds come from the people who hold it voting. So that's called governance. When you're having a decentralized autonomous organization, you have to have some method of voting. Now, one of the issues is this whole concept of a 51% attack, right? Anyone who owns 51% of a token owns that entire blockchain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So So now the issue with DAOs, when you're really like, I'm working on a DAO right now that is one of the pieces is literally just US legislation, constitutional law, that kind of thing. So I have to limit it to US citizens only, right? So before I can do that, I have to have a sovereign ID system in order for people to buy it. And then I also have to limit votes. I have to cap votes, right? Because I don't want people to hoard the governance token, and I don't want bad actors to basically straw man votes that they shouldn't have. Straw man means basically putting a person in between the person who actually makes the decision and has the money and the person who represents that they have the money and are making the decisions. So, so that those are concepts that are just now being brought to light, which is, anonymous is great, except sometimes it's not. So
Right.
that's where we're getting right now. It's a decentralized autonomous organization, not anonymous organization. So the organization runs itself. You don't technically usually have a corporate structure. However, that was in the Senate committee or the SEC testimony the other day, where Wyoming has just created this LLC DAO structure, which is awesome because Wyoming's crypto friendly like crazy. They're amazing. If you are not domiciled in Wyoming and you have a crypto company, I'm sorry, I don't know why. They're the only ones who really get it and are open to getting it even more. And you got Caitlin Long there, and she's just like a dynamo. So anything crypto will get passed. So, but my point about that is what they've done is a traditional LLC has shielding from liability, right? And a DAO LLC has the same shielding from liability, except if the DAO misbehaves, right? So that's what's really interesting to me is you can lose your liability protection if the DAO is created for nefarious purposes, right? So if the DAO is accused of criminal activity, boom, all liability is lost. All limited liability is lost. So I thought that was an interesting caveat. It's like DAOs for good, totally, totally fine. DAOs for evil, totally not fine. And I thought that was a great way to do it. But this way you can have that legal entity structure, you can get your EIN number, you can operate actually legally, but still have that decentralized autonomous functionality that
But
is what people who are doing good actually want.
but if you are participating in a DAO and you're not a smart contract expert or a finance expert, what are the clues that you should look for that help you understand, is this an evil DAO or a good DAO, right?
Oh,
Because usually,
yeah. Okay. So, quickie little due diligence checklist. First off, can you even identify the founders, right?
okay.
Satoshi Nakamoto is anonymous. We've got
Mhm.
Craig out there saying it's him, but basically anonymous. So, um, I mean, seriously, he's sitting there going, I'm Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm like, then why have you not been assassinated? Clearly you're not. So, because whoever it is would definitely be out like in a heartbeat because by the bankers. So, conspiracy theory, sorry. Um, so looking at LinkedIn profiles of the people who claim to be the founders, checking them out, paying the $9.99 to get a 7-day trial on those background check
Oh, wait, I
places.
would stop you with LinkedIn. So what I would start with was CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap to like look at the token and then go to the wherever that website is on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap because LinkedIn is just fraught with
No, no,
fraud.
no, no,
And
no. I just meant because this is I'm not. I get you. Yes, absolutely. That's literally for me like step 3 because I've already eliminated 90% of the candidates already.
yeah,
By the time I get
you
to the
did.
CoinGecko, no. What I'm saying is, if I go and I look and I say, okay, this project, I Google that project, I look at whoever the founder and the advisors are, I go look at their LinkedIn. If they do not publicly acknowledge that they are on this project, it's out.
I agree.
It's
And
90%. It's they have fraudulent advisors on there.
yeah, and also even if you look at the website, if you go like you hear of a project and you just Google the website, right? And that could be one of the 10 websites posing as the project website.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then and you're right. If you go to CoinGecko or I go to Etherscan, so I go to CoinGecko, I look at the contract that minted the actual token. Then I take that and I go to Etherscan or Binance Scan or whatever platform it's on, and then I look, is it verified, right? because to verify that you have to verify a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's a point in its favor if it's verified. If it's not verified, it's also out.
I agree. And then once you do the due diligence on the team members, if the team member says that they're part of this project, but there's no other LinkedIn data, that's kind of
Oh,
questionable
then
too.
then they may not be humans. So that's the other thing is this a real human, right? So the top 10 people, I always look and it's like, do they have a Facebook? Do they have a LinkedIn? How old are their profiles, right? How trackable are they? That's why I was saying that $10, you know, they always say, you know, so and so, you know, you're trying to date so and so. Oh my goodness, he's got police records, whatever, right? It's like $9.99 for a 7-day trial or whatever. You just do all of them and it'll give you everything about everybody. It makes it faster. And if they don't exist, they don't exist. Here's the other fun one. Here's a fun one. You ready? You ready? This is high level stuff right here. In Google, you Google the people, and on the page that says this is the team, you right click and you say search by image. Is it a stock photo? Can't tell you how many times it is. A lot.
It's amazing. Yeah, what's so interesting about this is when I first got into the space and dealing with people who invested in Ethereum and a bunch of these projects, and I knew a lot of them for decades, so that helped. This is why I think there's so many crypto events and conferences, and you can't really build a community without, a crypto meetup type group, which is what we did with Infiom, because otherwise you don't even know who's real and who's not.
Speaking of that, Mariana, why don't you tell them about Infiom and what we do and how they can contact us and participate with us?
So we are a consensus network of business development professionals in the space. We do several things. This is one of them. We host 2 events at the clubhouse, one on Tuesday at 10 a.m. and one on Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. This one focuses more on the basics of the business, as well as if you're launching an NFT project, for example, where the Wednesday discussion is all about launching ventures in the space. Every other Wednesday, we host the virtual Infiom Salon, which we started on Zoom. They were in person in a bunch of locations around the globe before the pandemic and on Zoom since the pandemic. And there we have presentations by CEOs of top tier blockchain companies, as well as investors in the space and Fortune 500's heads of innovation. We usually do Q&A about that event in the clubhouse. And we also publish a weekly newsletter that goes out to almost 18,000, again, investors, CEOs of blockchain companies, and heads of innovation of Fortune 500 companies. That kind of just does a roundup of news. We also discuss the roundup of news like we did today in these 2 sessions in the clubhouse. Thank you, Jeanette.
Yuri, welcome back. Do you have a question or a comment for us?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. It's amazing, like listening to hear all those great ideas, and it's a shame that there are so few people in here, and many other people should really listen to what you're saying here today, because all this due diligence. Thank you so much. I'm literally like writing down those points because it's really important. And also, I wanted to comment on this last part about meeting people in person, because especially this day and age where like on this Chinese exposition where they had Presidents Obama and Trump welcoming the participants in fluent Mandarin, right? So all those deep fakes and other advances of AI, basically people can be totally generated now. So, for example, me here, do you know if I'm real or I'm just some generated, person who kind of speaks, but I'm not a person. I'm just a bot, right? Speaking and all that stuff. So today it's still kind of a bit early for that, but just a bit, like a year or two from now, well, the videos and the voices, all of this stuff can be faked, and all those networks of bots and stuff, they really can take over all this social media platforms. So basically you go and check their profiles and stuff, and you even talk to them on Zoom, and they can be like fake. I mean, conspiracy theories today, yes, 2 years from now, who knows? So there can be like some high-profile cases that will be just like that, probably, right? So thank you for your idea about meeting those people in person, and maybe there could be some network where people will actually, or even on LinkedIn, people could actually mark those humans whom they've met in person, and they mark each other like
Yes,
on the
yes.
conference.
That's literally part of my digital ID that I'm creating. It is a sovereign digital ID, and it includes proof of personal stake. So you can literally stake that this person is real. You can stake that they are this smart. You can start, that they have this certification, that they've worked on this project. There's all these different things that you can stake. But yes, part of that is their humanity. And if they don't have a digital ID, then it's not their liveness, their likeness, and their ID. They have to prove that they're human first, and then you can also stake that you've met them in person. And the more people that do that, that helps, because with that ID, it is sovereign, it is theirs, it is immutable. But then that proves that they have agency over whatever account or wallet they're trying to make a transaction from.
That's great, Adriana. And another thing I wanted to say about Infiom is I can tell you that we vet everybody that we have speaking with us and know them personally. So when you come to our Zoom or when you come to our Clubhouse, everybody that we have up here with us are people that we've met and we know are real. So that is reassuring, I think. And also, Infium began as an in-person meeting, and I believe we're going to go back to that at some point. And that's also another opportunity if you are in this area to connect with people one-on-one. So one of the things that I heard when we were talking about DAOs is you were mentioning, Adrian, that it has to be only American people involved, and it
No, 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 no,
in
no, no. What I was saying is DAOs are by nature global. And in the DAO that I'm creating now, what's coming up is some people are creating DAOs specifically for country specific things. And
right.
that
No,
creates an issue because they're
yeah,
generally global.
no, I get that, but I'm wondering too if part of the reason that people are creating these region specific DAOs is because of the potential legal battles that can come up from different sets of regional laws.
Oh, yes, but it's not
Okay.
just that. Here's the other part. What
Okay.
happens if you are a successful DAO doing something amazingly fabulous and you have members globally, right? You've literally given every jurisdiction in the world a nexus into your organization for taxation, for governance, for legal oversight, for prosecution. That's why these global ones have to be more anonymous, because otherwise they can say, I mean, the United States is just like, the, I don't know if you guys know Kim.com. He has no ties to the United States other than I think he spoke badly about a particular human who didn't like him. Um, and they literally in New Zealand took his stuff, took his house, arrested him, the whole thing. He had no business here, no nothing, simply because United States users used his platform. That should not be legal,
Mm.
and it's an anonymous platform.
So
But
how?
because they tied IP addresses to the platform, they
Right.
literally strong armed the government of New Zealand to allow them to extradite.
So do you have any thoughts, Mariana or Adrian, about how we're going to move forward past these issues? How are we going to get around them?
Well, I have a thought. So we're working also on coursework. Um, Jeanette, Adrian, myself, and the rest of the Infium team. That's going to be on Odin platform, co-branded with Infium. And for you, Yuri, for your question, we're actually going to package all this wonderful information that Adrian has and Jeanette has, and that I presented today into classes, so that people can not have to come every Tuesday, Wednesday, hoping they'll get enough information. Of course, you're welcome and please join us and come ask questions. But we will also have it organized for everyone to sort of learn what DAOs are. How can you set one up? What are the issues, like what Jeanette is saying? How do you overcome these issues, et cetera, et cetera?
You know what's really funny is there was a guy who did the marriage fitness. His name's Mort Fratelli. Apparently, I'm really impressed with this human because I've been divorced for a long time and I've been pimping him for over a decade now, like 12, 13 years. What he does is on his weekly calls, he schedules everything for the questions for the Q&A to ask, in a general sense. And then on his website, he breaks out every single weekly Q&A call and he adds them into the little categories as an audio. So you can literally go through and listen to, like 20 things. We could do 20 things on DAOs and, all these kinds of things. And it's fascinating how you can break out the content and put it into a locked platform and then use an NFT as a token gate. But that's how he broke it out. And I'm saying we could do the same thing because we're here every week, right? So you can either record them and listen to the whole thing, or we could have some kind of incentivized community thing where they break it out for us and then earn rewards tokens.
I like it. Let's do it.
Okay.
You heard it here, folks. It's in the works as of this moment. But I think we're nearly out of time, and so I just would love, Mariana and Adrian, for each of you to give us a parting thought about DAOs. What you think is going to happen next, and what you think is the most important thing for people to know.
So quickly for me, having launched a lot of businesses in my career and many in the blockchain space as well. First, you really have to kind of dig deep and understand why you're launching this business and what kind of a problem are you solving, and do you feel that this must be solved. If you feel that sense of urgency, you will get to the right answer. And then you need to ask yourself, is this a DAO structure? Do I want to have many people around the globe helping me build this business, and why? And if the answer to all of those questions is a resounding yes, then you want to structure your white paper, you want to create your governance model, you want to create your governance token, your utility token, etc., and go through sort of a checklist of making sure that everything is aligned before you launch. That would be a recipe for success. This is the right time to launch them. This is the right time to build these kinds of companies. But you also have to have sort of a right state of mind to be connected to it and never let go before they launch.
Adrian?
I think if we're smart, if we the people are smart, and I'm certainly smart, but it's going to take more than me, and we collectively create this DAO that I have in my mind that I'm speaking to people about and launch, we will be able to overtake the special interest lobbying money pieces that skew our governance and government to do things that are not in the interest of we the people, and put the power back into the hands of the people because we'll vote with our wallets. And it will be in a transparent way that shows what we really want. I mean, I think the 70% of us that I call the sensible middle, clean air, clean water, probably a good idea. I mean, there's like 90% of the issues that we all agree on. I think we should be focusing on those, and I think we're going to be able to with a DAO because the government can't stop it. As long as we create it in such a manner that they can't stop it, i.e. the website based in Iceland where they can't take it down, these kinds of things are really important.
That's great. Speaking of we the people, we would love for you to follow the speakers here. They do a lot of work and bring a lot of value to you. So if you can just give them a little love and follow them. And also, if you can back channel me and let me know what you really want to talk about next week, we will allow you to help focus our content and our questions and our information on what is most important to you. I just really want to thank everybody for coming and for joining us at Ask About NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs. And I want to sincerely thank Mariana and Adrian. And I think we're going to wrap it up for today.
And all I want to say, happy belated birthday, Jeanette.
Oh,
She's a
happy
year younger.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy
Yeah.
birthday, dear Jeanette.
Everybody's
Happy
singing.
birthday to you.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday, many more.
My first computer was a Commodore 64 Coco, but I am 29 years old again, just in case you're wondering.
Oh my God. I did that for like 15 years. I was 29 again. I love my 29th birthday. It was so much fun. I wholeheartedly endorse that. I'm going to have to make you an NFT.
Oh, yay! I would love an NFT. That'd be awesome.
Oh, I'm going to make you one, and I may include a Commodore 64 Coco in there. Now I got to go find a picture of one, but that would be hilarious.
Yes, and I also inherited my boyfriend's at the time, who became my husband, Trash 80.
Oh my God.
Trash 80.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, I've started at the beginning, but I'm 29 again.
29 was like, yeah, that was that was a great couple decades.
Yeah. For real. For real. Okay, ladies, thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow and next week.
1:30 tomorrow, same place, Clubhouse. See you guys then.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Adrian. Thanks,
Thanks.
Jeanette.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, guys.